Superstition. This is something that is another sin against the first commandment that is very. I don't see much of it in the United States, but it is very. It's very bad in Ukraine and in other countries that I visited and that I lived at. In Italy, it is something that Italian culture has to struggle with and fight with on a spiritual level. What is a superstition? It is when we attribute any power to magical or other practices that don't come directly from God. And we have to draw a very, pretty straight line between superstition and our devotion to God. If we pray to God and we attribute to Him all the power and a magical power as well. Somebody, when we read today's gospel, when we hear about Christ healing all these people, somebody will say he was a magician, he was doing magic. But that is because God has all the power in the world. He can do anything, even destroy it in 1 second. It'll just cease to exist. But it's just because His action is fed by His love. We can predict what that love will cause. When we attribute a magical power or any other power to things that don't come from God, this is what we call superstition. So, the cars, when they try to foretell the tarot cards and all these things, all this is called superstition. But also we have a lot of things that we do and we think that we actually is just normal, but then it is a sin against the first commandment. I don't know, flip the coin to see, do this or do that. It is a joke, but we put the faith of our future in a coin. We attribute a power to it. That is a very little, but it's also superstition as well. Idolatry. Idolatry is it's very precise. It's when we have other gods. We actually attribute the power and the attributes of God to something else and make an idol out of it. Especially in the Old Testament, this was called polytheism, which means many gods. There is one God, and everything else is not God. So, by this clear and simple statement, we already say what things are and what they are not. So don't treat anything in our lives as God. We said yesterday that we have to recognize God for what He is, and then we have to recognize everything else for what it is not, and it is not God. So don't treat anything as God. And there are so many things that we treat like God. We can't treat like God. In this culture today, money, knowledge, health sometimes can be treated above everything. The euthanasia is guided by treatment of health above life. It's idolatry. We make health into an idol. If you're not healthy anymore, it's okay to kill ourselves, because we won't be healthy anymore. We make an idol out of health. We make an idol out of movie stars, TV stars, money, well-being, wealth. We can make an idol out of, and we do make an idol out of many things. And when we treat them as we should, we should reserve this treatment to God only. Divination, magic, foretelling of the future. This is a waste of our faith. When we think that anything besides God can predict and control our faith. If you think about it, even God does not foretell the future. He doesn't want to control it. This is why He gave us the freedom, a free will. He knows what we will do because of His knowledge, but by that knowledge He doesn't control it. He just knows. We are the ones to actually have the free will. Why should we put our why should we recognize that anything else can control our future if even God doesn't want to do it? And it is again a sin against the first commandment. Irreligion, another sin against the first commandment. What is irreligion? It is. It actually happens to religious people. Irreligion is the opposite of religion, right? I didn't invent this word; it comes right from the Catechism. So this is a proper word. We know this by the word of tempting God, sacrilege, and simony. Is that a simony? When people try to get holy orders or anything that is holy by paying for it. Simony, maybe simony, S-I-M-O-N-Y, simony in English probably. So because there was this man in the Acts of the Apostles, we can read about him, Simon, who came to the apostles, and he was a magician, and he said he witnessed them performing miracles, and he said, "Listen, here's some money, share that power with me. I want to have that power," because he was tricking other people with his tricks. But he was a magician, but magician, somebody who makes tricks to impress people. So when he saw these real tricks that he saw, he thought, well, I can pay for it and I can get the same power. And this is why we call, when somebody approaches a bishop or a priest and wants to receive communion or any sacrament for money, that is called simony. And why is it called irreligion? Because it comes from religion. It comes from our religious feeling. We want to do something religious, receive a sacrament. But we think that this is something we don't understand probably. That this is something that comes from God. This is something that we don't even earn. It is a gift from God that is above everything that we can do. And especially money. But we can actively sin against religion by limiting religion to a human affair. That is what is called irreligion. When we make religion just human, it stops being religion. It becomes a superstition, it becomes a rite, it becomes anything, a cult, but it is not religion anymore, because religion is a relationship to God. So when we push God out of religion, and we keep the religion only to human affairs, that is called irreligion. Atheism, active atheism, it has two forms. It could be practical or theoretical. Practical atheism, this is what we see around us. People who live as if there was no God. Sometimes if you ask them, they will say, yes, there is God. Well, why do you live if as there was no God? This is practical atheism. And theoretical atheism is very rare, but it's the people when they actively denounce God, and they actually try to prove that God does not exist, and they take active steps against it. And this is one of the sins against the first commandment. Agnosticism, postulation of a transcendent being. It is when we think that God is there, but so it's a transcendent being, a being above everything. But that being is incapable or not willing to reveal Himself and to communicate with us and to do anything. This is it's very well represented in New Age. New Age is very agnostic in regards to God. They think that God is something that is everything, that is not precise, that is not defined, and He doesn't really want to communicate with us. He doesn't want to establish a relationship. It is just a being that we live with and we deal with. But this is a very grave offense of the first commandments that we should try to avoid. And also agnosticism is a mental disposition towards truth. When we think that truth is unreachable, when we think that there is the truth about life, about religion, about God, is something that is above our possibilities. And we are tempted to do that, especially in the last century, in the 20th century. A lot of people came with this idea that following the age of Illuminism and following the age of these big discoveries and the great improvement of our lifestyle and quality, and they would say, well, it didn't make us any better. Is it actually leading us anywhere? And they came to the conclusion that we don't know anything. Really, our mind is incapable of understanding the depth of truth. and understanding God and connecting with Him and establishing a relationship with Him. And this is a very bad temptation. But this is only a temptation. We have to remember this. God is out there waiting for us to receive us. He wants us to come to Him. This is why Christ says, "Come to me, and I will make your sufferings and your life your sufferings easier and your life better. Through me, you can attain the truth." Agnosticism is one of the grave offenses of the first commandments. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory to Him forever.